everybody, I wanted to show you kind of my process for if I've got some scrap fiber or just different odds and ends in my studio and I want to make some matching bats. What I do, you can see I first go through and try to find some fibers that I feel will be interesting blended together. These are all mostly natural looking. Some of the merino was dyed just in a few small sections, but for the most part, these are all natural fibers. There's some baby camel and bamboo, merino, alpaca blend, and bamboo. So I go through and just kind of unceremoniously start making a section, and I put that in my scale, and I'm usually shooting for around 1.2 ounces in my scale. Once I make one, then you kind of have like a recipe for it, and you can kind of see an idea of this much of this, that much of that, and you can pretty easily go through and replicate different little batches that are basically all matching. So I ended up with 5 different batches of pretty much the same little bundle of fiber. So I'm going to put my scale aside and then move all my little bundles so I only have one to work with at a time. And then I'm going to start blending on my Brother Drum Carter, which y'all have seen many times and I love. So shout out Brother Drum Carter. And this one's kind of fuzzy. I need to clean it, but it was the same type of bat, so not super worried about it. I always run the base through and pick kind of, I guess, my main fiber and run that through as a base. And then I kind of like to hand place, has been my new thing here lately, with hand placing the color sections on the main drum on top of the base that I ran through on the bottom. So I really don't use the bottom too much. And I did end up running these bats through a total of 2 times to get them smoothed out, but I didn't want to smooth them out too much. Still wanted some color sections. So I would kind of alternate between running through on the bottom and then hand placing on the top and then smoothing everything out with the brush. You can see going through and kind of packing those fibers down, hand placing the baby camel to get different textures throughout, and then making sure I smooth it out again. Here goes the bamboo, which I really like. It gives it nice a little bit of shine without being anything too crazy. And the alpaca. And this really blends. Okay, so this is what I'm calling the base on this, which is the merino with a little bit of hand-dyed spaces in it. So I'm going to run that through. Here's a different angle. You can see how I really like how this one's coming together. Kind of adds like a consistency and holds the rest of the shorter fibers together. There goes the baby doll, which is that kind of, it was also slightly dyed. It was natural, like a dark blue, dark purple. They look like raspberries, I felt like, in the baby doll wool. And so the base fiber kind of holds everything together, and then all of the shorter, fuzzier little fibers are all in there for spinning, you know, interest and color and texture interest. So I'm just going to run that through, make sure everything's smooth. And this was the first time I took it off. So I'm going to go through and I took each one off once, then kind of deconstructed the bat a bit and ran it through again for a second time, just to make sure everything was a little bit smoother, to smooth out my color sections. So here it was coming off the first time. It's always a little tricky, but I always find this part really gratifying. So I love the part where you get to pull it off. That's probably everybody's favorite part. So you just have to go slow, and it will eventually all pull off. And like I said, I did run this through a second time after this to smooth everything out, which you will see in the picture here coming up for my final product for these bats. So this was time number 1. And like I said, I just thought they were so pretty. I wanted there to definitely still be color sections, but I didn't want it to be like a chunky spin. So I always like to see if it looks prettier in a ball or rolled up kind of like a cigar. So there you go. You see them all lined up together.